Hello, ScreenFlow is a screen recording program, and the short video you're watching will give you an idea of how you can use it to create resources that you can share with your students via Blackboard or iTunes U. To start ScreenFlow, all you need to do is to open the ScreenFlow program on your computer and then choose File, New Recording. This brings up a simple interface on the screen where you decide where you're going to be recording. In this situation, I'm recording from the color LCD, which is the screen for my laptop. I'm not recording video, I'm leaving this blank, but if I wish to, I could activate that, and that would bring in some camera input like so. I'm recording audio from my built-in microphone, and actually in this situation I'm going to change that to my USB headset I'm wearing. I have the last option here to record computer audio. Basically this records any audio that's playing through the speakers of my computer, and then when I'm happy with the settings I just simply click on the record button. You'll see there's a countdown timer. This is now ready to record, so I can bring up my presentation. Here I have something in a program called Keynote, which is similar to PowerPoint on the Mac. So hello, you're about to watch a short presentation on ScreenFlow as part of the DOTS online teaching series program. ScreenFlow is a program that allows me to record what I see on my computer. I can take that and I can trim the recording. I can take out the things that I don't need. I can add some credits to that, and then I can export that as an M4V file. To this I add some metadata from a template, and this will be a recording that I can share with students. Now, for me to get this file to students, I can use iTunes U. iTunes U is a sort of repository that's being given to us by Apple. To get on iTunes U, you'll have to contact Diane Tarkowski, and if you give her your information and the course that you're teaching, she can provide an area for you to upload your files. Now, iTunes U is not the only option, but it's free and it's easy to use, so I recommend using it. Okay, this ends the presentation, but what I'm going to show you as an added benefit to using ScreenFlow is what you can do when you're moving around through other applications. Now here I'm opening up a web browser, and I'm going to show you how you can access iTunes U. At the top of the screen, if you type in the address itunes.depaul.edu, this will take you to the front page for iTunes U. Now here you have to click on this link that you can see on the screen in the middle of the page, and this will bring up a second window where you need to put in your campus connection username and password. So I'm going to do that now. And after logging in, this will open up, or should open up, iTunes on my computer. There we go. So we're connecting. Typically this connection would happen a little bit faster than you're seeing at the moment. And then we have iTunes U on the screen. If we go into College of Commerce and I go down the page, here I can see Marketing 595, and this is where my students can download the various tutorials and videos that I've created for Marketing 595. Anyway, I think that's probably enough in terms of showing you how we can record something. What I'm going to move into next is editing. Now the way you'll do that is if you click on the icon at the top of the screen that says Stop Record. This will now bring up the ScreenFlow interface, and here you'll see two tracks. At the top of the screen we have, at the top of the area at the bottom of the screen, we have two channels. The channel here is the Logitech USB headset channel, and then below that there is a channel for screen recording. Clicking on these highlights and we can switch between the two. Now I'm going to start to edit the recording, and I'm going to trim out some unnecessary material. And what I'm going to get rid of is this area here right at the start of the recording. Decided that I don't need that. I can highlight both channels and then use Edit, Trim Front to Scrubber, and that'll get rid of that part of the recording. And let's say I want to remove this part of the recording at the end that has perhaps some dead air or unnecessary areas that I want to get rid of. I can use the same process. I can click on Edit, Trim End to Scrubber, and now we have the recording that we want. Now I can do some fairly nice special effects for this recording. I can go in and I can start to manipulate material. I can zoom in and zoom out on things. So let me explain how that might happen. As I move my mouse along the top of the screen here, we have the timeline. Now let's say what I wanted to do in this last area where I talk about iTunes U. And here's the area I want to play around with. The critical area is this small little window at the top, but we have a lot of space that's not being used in this recording. What I can do is move over to this area here that says Call Out Action. I can add a call out, and this will be added here to the bottom of the screen, the video track. I can drag the call out until it covers the particular area and time that I want to concentrate on. And this is about where I want to stop. So I'm going to drag this to there. And what the call out does is, by default, it highlights my mouse. So you can see there's a little halo effect around that. But I can also use it to highlight what's called the foreground window. So I'm clicking on foreground window, and now you can see this area is highlighted, so it stands out over the other areas. And actually, I think this is about as far as I want to go, so I'm going to move this call out section down to here. That's the first thing that I can do. Now let's say I want to do some unusual effects where I manipulate how the screen looks on screen. How the screen looks. I use a similar process for this. I'm going to move my mouse to an area in the timeline that I want to manipulate. Let's say it's here at the start of the recording. When I go into the video properties area, I can add what's called a video action. And a video action is basically a process moving between two states. I'm going to zoom in here so we can see this a little bit easier. So I'm zooming in the screen. My video action starts here. Again, I can move this around the screen. I can drag it to make it a longer video action or a shorter video action. Now here's my initial state before the video action. After the video action, what I'd like to do is deform the screen here slightly. So it is changed in some unusual ways. Now I could rotate it as I'm showing you here, or I could change the Y rotation, and then I'm going to change to 30 degrees. And you can see it sort of created a perspective effect for the screen that you can see here. Now if I click on this area of my mouse, I'm using the little scroll wheel on my mouse, or I could use up here the scale area. I can change the scale of this recording. So let's do that now, and you'll see what happens when I click on play. So hello, you're about to watch. You can see I've created this little effect where things move around the screen. Now let's say I want to move things back to the way they were. I can do the same thing. I can add another video action. And here we have the second video action. I'll make it a little bit longer. This is the before state. This is the after state. So for this I can change the Y rotation back to 0, and that removes the area that was deformed. And now I can change the scale back until we're at 100%. So now when we play this area, you'll see this. So hello, you're about to watch a... Okay, I think that's probably enough for now. This gives you an understanding of some of the basic features that you'd use in ScreenFlow. When you're happy with the way your video looks, all you need to do is save the file. So I'm going to save this as example, and then export. So if I click on File, Export, the system presents me with a couple of options here. If you choose iPod, that will save your file as an M4V file. This is probably the best approach if you want to get something out of this system and then into iTunes U. And then you click on the export button here, and the process would start at the bottom of the screen. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this rather impromptu tutorial that explains how to use some of the basic features of ScreenFlow. Thank you.